When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and we are so excited to have our guest, Damara Murphy, with us today. And we are going to be talking about creating sustainable habits. I know that's the one thing that has talked to me the most about is you could do it for a short amount of time, but then how do you create sustainable habits that can last the length of a lifetime, right? You know, healthy eating, sleeping, you name it. We're going to jump into that today. But before I jump into that with Damara, I want to thank our sponsor, Your Guided Health Journey. Did you know that your body speaks to you? It doesn't speak in English. It speaks in symptoms, trying to alert you to the fact that something isn't quite right as it asks you to pay attention and do something different. The problem is we are so busy, we don't pay attention. Instead, we consider the symptoms to be aging or seasonal allergies or genetic. And we keep on going with our daily lives, ignoring the early warning signs. Your Guided Health Journey works with the entire English-speaking world to help you get to the root cause of your symptoms through having you discover your toxic load and using the power of functional medicine lab tests mailed to your home, and then providing you a personalized wellness protocol to guide your body back into balance and literally turning back time to have you feel amazing again. Get started today by taking the free Discover Your Toxic Load quiz and learn how your body is talking to you and asking you to do things differently. You can find that for Your Guided Health Journey at welcome.yourguidedhealthjourney.com/your toxic load. And we will have all of that information available to you here at your fingertips. So let's jump in right away and talk about health and why creating sustainable habits are so important. But first, I'd like to introduce our guest, Damara Murphy. She is a life coach. She holds degrees in sociology and education with certifications in cognitive behavioral therapy and holistic practices. She's a wife and mom of 4. The Unnesting Method helps women create sustainable habits to reach measurable goals through scaffolding techniques for the ultimate support and lifelong mastery. Damara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We've had Damara around. She's taught some master classes for us. She's been absolutely amazing. And I know how focused she is on fitness and health and wealth and the importance of that. And my gosh, having 4 children, how do you ever find time to be able to focus on yourself and your wealth and your health and your positive eating habits, Damara? I mean, let's just start there. How do you ever get time to focus on yourself with 4 children?
It is definitely intentional. Everything is with intention. And then I don't know when we'll get to talking about habits, but it really is about mindset. So everything from what you're eating, how you're feeling your body, what type of workouts you're doing, if it's sustainable after, the 30 days that you join, the 8 weeks, 12 weeks, it's all based on mindset. So, you can be as regimented as you want, but speaking for myself, I've had 4 children, so that means I've lost the weight 4 times. And for me, it is not just habits, it has to become a lifestyle. And with that, it becomes the whole mindset change. So just being very intentional about the results that I want to see. So you can do a habit, but that's why we yo-yo, and I didn't want to yo-yo. So I make sure that I fuel my body. I make sure that I feel it while I'm nursing. And really, I just really look at my goal with the end in mind, and everything I do, even when I am tired, I make sure that it is focused on the mindset of it.
Well, let's jump into that right away because you talked about habits. So, how does a habit start? How does a habit form? What do you recognize? Where's the awareness that you need to change a current habit that you have? I know we're reading the book Atomic Habits in our Leap community, and we have a book club, and we're focusing on atomic habits. So, he talks a lot about setting up your environment and having cues that assist you because willpower, he says, can only last for so long. So you have to make it easy so that you don't have to use willpower. So talk us through how you're able to use your unnesting method to assist women in creating those sustainable habits.
Well, I think a lot of times diets, even when you look at programs, they're normally not customized. They're normally some 30-day product that you buy and you're expected to follow it. It doesn't look at who you are as a person. So as far as my unnesting method, when I focus on health and accountability, I normally go to the mindset and where it comes from. So we go deep. We start with childhood. I'm not a therapist. I have resources for that. But there is something to be said as to what triggers you, where food is something that is impassioned by you, or food is something that doesn't disappoint you. So we get to like the deeper root cause as to, or if you're a stress eater, just the deeper root cause of what is causing the habits. And then if we can manage those triggers and replace them with habits that will meet your goals, then that will help it to be more sustainable.
Okay, that makes sense. So instead of just focusing on what you're doing, focusing on the why you're doing it, understanding what that root cause is, and then you're able to unfold that to replace, is that what you mentioned, to replace that habit with a healthier habit for you to be able to move forward?
Yes, it takes more than 21 days to make a habit. If it didn't, then people who have lots of money, and we can think of them, they would not struggle with their weight. At the end of the day, the habits will only get you so far. So for example, when I believe in therapy, so in working with a therapist, one of the major milestones in my life is when my grandmother passed. So I was asked, well, how did that affect you? And originally, because I was only 16, I said, well, I don't really think it affected me. Of course, it affected me, but I don't think it changed anything that I was doing. And so then she asked, well, what happened thereafter? And each grade level, I kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger because food became a comfort. And it was also something that we did together a lot, which was to cook. Like if I hadn't found a root cause, then it would have been way more difficult to have the mindset change. And then also forcing yourself to do the things that you don't want to do. So I don't know if the Leap community has read the 5-second rule, but I feel like we've talked about it. And literally sometimes, because I'm trying to create a morning routine before the kids get up, and you can apply it to anything, just what is the thing you want to do? Count down from 5 and literally get up and do it. Like, we can trick ourselves out of things so easily. And that's a great way to help us to align the habits with the new mindset that we want.
Yeah, Mel Robbins. I think that was one of the first books I read for personal development when I was traveling back in corporate America, when I dug in 2016 and swore that I was going to go on this personal development journey. And that was about the 5-second rule, right? Because what happens is then our like you said, our minds start talking us out of it. So we have to act quickly. And that's the other thing we talk about too. The fastest path to wealth is speed, making quick decisions and then slowly correcting. So, many people are probably out there thinking, she makes it sound so easy. Tamara is saying, you find the root cause and then you just switch and put a new habit in place. You said it takes 21 days. So talk us through how you work with your clients, Tamara, so our listeners can understand a little bit better of what that accountability piece looks like, because you really need to have a buddy system here to try and do it on our own. Again, that willpower piece can only go for so long. So how do you work with your clients through this? Take us through that process so the listeners can understand how they need to take the first step to really master that technique.
Well, my programs are longer than 21 days. They are typically 16 to 20 weeks, and then we do like maintenance programs thereafter. But I will say that the main thing about the mindset change that needs to occur is that snapback bodies, if it's motherhood, injury, or just a change physically when someone has lived a sedentary lifestyle, it's not going to happen in 21 days. It's kind of funny when you see someone, they could be losing weight. And then I don't know if you've had that experience where you notice them and you're like, oh my gosh, like what have you been doing? So I like the longer time frame because it makes it more of a realistic expectation. We also do not focus on weight because depending on the program that I help them choose with a nutritionist, they could be focused on muscle building. They could be bulking up first and then working on the muscle. So we normally do something with goals. So before and after photos, a goal outfit that is new because we don't want the trigger to be something that they once formerly fit into, but something that is like an actual measurable goal. We do a lot of mindset work, talking about childhood triggers, stress triggers, handling stress. A lot of people are actually so overwhelmed that the last thing that you want to do is work out because it's adding something else to your plate. Mm-hmm. And speaking of plate, the most important thing is that I match with a nutritionist because a lot of people will work out and you can get cardio then, but that also is not sustainable because when you go in that much of a food deficit, then as soon as you start eating the way that you did, then you can't maintain it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. You know, as a personal trainer back in the day, when I did that as well, you know, what goes in and what comes out, it's so important to understand the value of both of those, right? How much exertion's going out and calories that you're burning, as well as how many calories you're putting in. So I'm assuming then you must work with women, not only on weight, but on, utilizing nutrition, but maybe some other habits that they have. If they have some bad habits of, do you work with them if they're like late, they're having issues with being late everywhere or worrying all the time or stressed out or not ever saying no, right? So boundary setting, is that another area that you work with females on, Demira?
It is. We've talked about it before. I have a whole series on boundaries that no is a complete sentence and that there sometimes doesn't have to be any explanation. Also, just helping women to realize that they are important because a lot of times you will find that women will put themselves on the back burner and it could be job, work, kids, projects. Then there's the doer who wants to do everything all by themselves. So they're the first to volunteer at school, the first to volunteer at work. So we have to, all of those, I don't see them as obstacles, but they are things that we have to focus on and let them make the correlation. I'm not a consultant. I do life coaching. So that means that I'm letting my clients make the associations to how these habits are impacting them in a positive or negative way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that when you say that. No is a complete sentence. I want to know if the listeners heard you say that very clearly. So are you finding yourself struggling to set boundaries? Are you that doer? Are you the busy out there where you wear it like a badge of honor? Because if you're busy and you're volunteering everywhere and you're running yourself ragged, that somehow shows that you are great. I don't know. I think that happened a long time ago in our lives where the busier you were, all of a sudden that looked like that person was so busy that they must be up to these great things. Well, we could be busy, but really just kind of running in place and never making any traction. And the only person we're wearing down is ourselves. And Demira has some wonderful programs. I know she mentioned that there's several different weeks, 16, 20 weeks, where you can work with her on whatever level it is. So if you're struggling to set those boundaries, if you're having struggles with the current habits that you have, maybe it's a nutrition habit or a weight or health. You know, as I'm getting older, my body doesn't respond the same to, it does exercise, the way it used to when I was younger. And, but I feel healthy. And so we need to, with our mindset, I love what Demira said, with our mindset, and how we see ourselves and what we believe for ourselves. And this is not something you can do on your own. I just want to make that very clear. There hasn't been one time in my life or my clients where they've been able to accomplish this on their own. It's the same as if you have a child and you drop them off to learn a sport like basketball or baseball or soccer, even cheerleading. There's a coach there, and that coach is to teach them, to bring out the best in them, to give them the tools that they need to be good at that sport. And yet, as entrepreneurs, Demira, so many of us go on our own and think we can conquer these businesses without having guidance along the way. And sometimes it's speaking guidance or, intuitive guidance or business coaching guidance or life coaching guidance, which is what Demira offers. So Demira, tell us maybe a client that you're working with, because I know you help clients really extend themselves, their grace, fuel their purpose. So they've got to really understand their why. But, having that clarity and the confidence and courage is what is going to make the difference, is what is going to move the needle. Talk to us about a client that you're working with today or have, and tell us a story about how you were able to help them fuel purpose and move the needle for themselves.
Sure. I can think of two clients in particular from recent months. I use a test called the Enneagram. So if anyone's familiar with that, I might make a reference to like an Enneagram number, but I will describe it. The Enneagram person, the client, she's a female. She's not a mom. She is in her mid-50s, and she is what we like to call a peacemaker. So she is someone who has experienced a lot of emotions around suppressing emotions so that she is not angry. And what a peacemaker does is over all things, they want peace, typically because within their childhood or someone close to them maybe had brought about something that felt unpredictable to them. So they're the person who's at work, they're agreeable, the person at church who has 50 roles, the person who may have weak boundaries because they don't say no. So that was impacting life because they were so busy. So then we had to look at what things were vital, how they were important. Were they the person who was standing up, or was there other people who could have volunteered? And a lot of times she found that there were plenty of people who offered, but she said no to that. Also working around the mindset as to what it was giving her to be a peacemaker. And she kind of like the praise that she was receiving because she was doing all these things. So of course she was being acknowledged, but she was tired at the end of the day. She didn't have enough energy to work out. She was not eating or fueling herself properly because she felt like she didn't have time to actually stop. Mm-hmm. So all the work that we did was connecting her to the right people, therapists, nutritionists, and then doing my mindset course around why she was, her behaviors were what they were and how we could ultimately get her to a different state.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, just a few of the things that you said, which she enjoyed the praise. So her worth came from outside validation, which right there is working on our self-worth, right? And then noticing that there were plenty of other people that were willing to volunteer, right? She didn't have to be the first one to jump up, but how interesting it was that she didn't even notice that from the tunnel vision that she had until you brought it into perspective for her. And that's what outside consulting and having a life coach can do for you, like Demira Murphy, because she's bringing that to you so that you can see things from a different perspective. And again, the guidance is so important. So Demira, talk to us about where we find you, how they can reach out to you. I know we've got a couple of your links posted, but is there something on your website specific where they should go or something they should download? Help us out so our listeners know where to go to reach you.
Sure. I can be reached at the Unnesting Mom, so www.unnestingmom.com, UNNESTING mom.com. So I think I described that on my bio, how I came to terms with that name. I also have something for our viewers. If you text me LEAP, I will send you my mindset boot camp. So if you text us 708-581-6591, I will gift that to your listeners. And the first step with me is just booking a free discovery call, which typically is about 20 minutes. And then we can see if we are a good match for one another.
Okay, great. We will make sure that we have that information for them to text you as well, to send that information. So everyone listening on the podcast will have that information at their fingertips so they can click on that link. What else did you want to leave us with today?
Just that there is hope on the other side. Everyone's life isn't drab and dreary. I know that. I've met clients that are wonderful people living thriving lives. So I don't want people to think that coaching is only for people who are like down and out and don't know what to do. And once there is like an authenticity, and once you walk into your purpose and you stop denying self, it's just a much better view. And it was well worth the climb to get there.
I'm so glad you said that, Damara, because it's so important for everyone out there to remember that you don't have to be suffering to hire someone to assist you, right? This is not a doctor. This is not therapy. And I'm glad you said that, because every person that I've ever aligned with and hired to assist me was because I was doing well, but I wanted to maintain that and I wanted to continue growing from that point. So you don't wait until you're in the struggle. But if you're in the struggle, or if you know that you are going somewhere and you really are looking for someone to help you maintain where you are, then Damara Murphy is the great opportunity for that. And you can find her online. We have her LinkedIn at Damara Murphy. You can connect with her there and DM her, as well as unnestingmom.com. And you don't have to be a mom. You don't have to be a mom, because she mentioned that her clients that she worked with earlier wasn't a mom. And there's no reason why anyone should walk through life not feeling at their absolute best. And I love her. She is the ultimate support and gives you that support for lifelong mastery. That's what this is about. Damara Murphy, thank you so much for being on our show today and being our guest and teaching us how we can create sustainable habits that last a lifetime. But we've got to get that root cause. We've got to uncover that first, and that takes another perspective. So thank you so much for being here. Ladies, I just want to remind you again, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that will ever be. So do you want to live with the habits that you have today? Do you want to live in the unhappiness or the unknown? Or do you want to live a life where you can create sustainable habits for yourself? I'm going to challenge you today to reach out to Damara Murphy, because she has the formula on how you're able to do that. So it's a proven formula. Please reach out to her. It's called the Unnesting Method. And for all of you that were joining us today, thank you so much. Of course, you can find out more about us over at ColleenBiggs.net. That's ColleenBiggs.net. Check out our LEAP community for women, because it's time for you to step into the spotlight, to expand your influence and attract the right clients. Until next time, everyone, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time. Be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.ColleenBiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.